Hello, lovely people. Just we'll give it a minute while people join. Nice to see you. Thanks for joining me. So today's call, as you probably know, is all about the one-to-one coaching program. And so what it's going to look like today is I am going to speak a little bit about the program, and then I'm going to invite you to ask any questions. We've got some questions over email that I will be answering. You can ask questions in the Q&A box. You can ask questions on the call. You can come on and raise your hand. So however suits you, we are here for you to support you in essentially making a decision on whether Time Hackers one-to-one coaching program is for you. So I thought I'd start by just sharing about the intention behind even creating this program. Some of you may not know this. In fact, most of you won't. But when I first started coaching back in 2019, I was coaching 6 sessions at a time. And the reason why I loved it so much then is because, I mean, in this room, we know things don't take time. And I just think it creates an accessible way to get coaching when there's not such a long time requirement or time commitment. So I really love that side of what we are offering. And then we went above and beyond in this program and really thought about how can we support people so that they can create fast results with the least required of them, because so often our brains are wired to not make decisions based off of the potential, but based off of what's in front of us right now and what's in front of any of us when it comes to deciding to invest in coaching is really the upfront cost. That's financial, the time requirement, the energy requirement. And so often what our brain dismisses is the cost of not doing something. So that's really what I wanted to invite you all to consider today is why is it that you are even drawn to the Time Hackers one-to-one coaching program? What is it that you hope to achieve? And what happens if you don't get any support in achieving it? What becomes your reality in 6 weeks? Now, of course, I'm just going to be very specific about the program and assume that you guys know nothing because I've invited people from all over. So the program itself is 6 sessions, 20 minutes each. When you sign up, you get to select your coach. You get taken to coach profiles where you can learn a little bit about each of your coaches, what their expertise is, what their life circumstances are, so that you can really find someone who you feel can support you at this time. And essentially, once you find the person, you just go ahead and book your first session. Now, we've had some people book the same coach for all 6 sessions. We've had some people book a different coach for different sessions. It really is up to you. What I want you to see through this program is everything that we are doing, everything that we have decided is really in support of you. Now, some of the questions that I've had have been whether coaching is for me because I have, for example, never experienced coaching before. And if you've never experienced coaching before, I do want to invite you to consider the basic benefit that would come from having a dedicated 20 minutes of your brain and someone else's brain, just clearing out kind of the cobwebs of what's going on, what's holding you back, what's stopping you, what you want to achieve, where you feel busy, where you feel unable to be motivated, where you feel overly motivated and unable to switch off. Like just at a basic level, the advantage of having you and someone else's brain, let alone the brain of someone who has joined the Time Hackers program themselves because they've I was in a mastermind once and someone said, oh, you can't all be like Vicky, when we were speaking about how I was moving multiple times and my business was still growing. And that phrase stuck with me because I absolutely think everyone can be like anyone they want to be as long as we have the tools and resources. And that's what I want you to consider even right now is, where have you ever been taught about time? Where have you ever been taught how to best use your time? Has anyone ever at any point ever sat you down and given you the skill of how to best use your time, of how to get things done, of how to get things done when life happens, of how to deal with being busy, of how to deal with being overwhelmed, of how to achieve your goals in a sustainable way? And if not, then this is what exactly this program is for. It's really there for you to get the support that you're craving so that you can know how to best use your time, so you can know how to prioritize, so you can know how to ditch the busyness and the overwhelm and the pressure and feeling like you have to do it all, you have to say yes to everything, you can't let anyone else down. I really want to invite you to consider what becomes possible for you when you do have the skill of prioritization, when you do have the skill of deciding ahead of time what's important to you, and knowing the obstacles that you're facing, getting it done, because we do know ourselves very well. And also these sessions are designed so that you can unpick that directly with a one-to-one coach, and then planning ahead of time how you will solve for those obstacles. The other thing to think about is how you will support yourself. Maybe some of you feel like you can get into the mode, you can get on a run, but it's not sustainable, it's not long-term. You find yourself dipping in and out, and it feels like productivity or efficiency or getting things done is out of your control and happens to you. Another thing I want you to think about is what would be different if you had a blueprint of knowing exactly the difference between your most productive and least productive days, so it wasn't happening like a random chance, it was happening with intention. And with your intention, you decide how productive you're going to be. You decide how efficient you're going to be. You decide how focused you're going to be. You decide how present you're going to be. So I really want you to think about what that would look like for you, what the impact of that might be. The other thing, and I did produce a podcast on this morning because it was just so obvious to me to see the messaging. So some of you may have come from the podcast, some of you may have not heard that podcast yet, so I will share it here. What happened is my husband and I spoke about going to the gym, and then the time came and we decided we weren't going to go. Now what had happened was I'd booked a tennis court a few days ago. Now if you book a tennis court where we go to the gym and you don't show up, there are repercussions. And so when that notification came up that the tennis court was booked, the reminder came up, we went. So often it's so challenging to find time for ourselves. Again, it's not something we've ever been taught to do, to find time for ourselves. And it can be very powerful and very beneficial at first to create time for yourselves while also meeting someone else, because typically our brain might be dismissive of the time that we allocate for ourselves, but it struggles to be as dismissive as for the time that we allocate with someone else. So it's kind of a little brain hack to get you and your brain showing up for 20 minutes for yourself, for your goals, for your time, for your presence, for your priorities, for what matters to you. That's just like a basic takeaway that you will get no matter what, is knowing how to carve out time. Now, another big question that we get, or feedback that we get, is I'm already so busy, I literally do not have time for these sessions. And I totally hear you. You may or may not know this about me, but I have a past of working 80 to 100-hour weeks, of taking on multiple projects, of doing my MBA while co-founding a tech startup, while launching my podcast, while having a coaching business, while moving to the other side of the world, while all these different things, saying yes to everything, hosting 4 or 5 events a week, not wanting to miss out. I had such a fear of missing out that I was saying yes to everything, which of course led to my burnout. But more importantly, I know what it's like to not change anything and to not get support. And I think so often, you have to remember right now you're with your brain that's built the habits that have left you wanting support around how to best use your time. And what you're going to get in this program is we're going to teach you how to direct your brain so it supports you around time instead of continues those habits. So a really powerful thing that we can do is pause and step back and think, if I was already the person who knew how to carve out 20 minutes of time, who knew how to show up for myself, who knew how to create space, who knew how to prioritize, who knew how to eliminate the shoulds and the coulds and the woulds and all of that narrative, would I then opt to get the support for myself? Because another big, brave thing that we have to speak about and we have to address is how we are never really taught to support ourselves. We're never taught to get help. It's really, we were in the Trafford Centre, which is a shopping centre in Manchester. And we found one of our favorite restaurants is there, and we were looking for it, and we went to go get the map. And my husband was insistent on using the map, and we went completely the wrong way because he misread the map. And I said, let me go in and ask someone. No, we don't need to ask anyone. I can figure this out, like turning the map upside down. And I was like, it's so interesting to see how for some reason we think it's better to do things ourselves. And I really encourage you to separate out. The importance is not how you do it, right? The importance is not whether you use the map, you use Waze, you use Google Maps, or you ask someone for help. The importance is, do you reach the destination, right? That's way more important. So I invite you to consider, are you doing everything that you can to ensure what it is you want to create, what your destination is? And if you were all in for creating that, no matter what might that look like? So I do want to open up and invite you as we're going. This can be very interactive as we're going. If you have any specific questions that you want to ask on one-to-one coaching, you can just pop it in the Q&A, or you can raise your hand and come on and get coached. And as we do, I am going to go through some of the common questions that we get. One of the big questions that we get is, just open this up. One of the big questions that we get is, should I invest in the one-to-one coaching program, or should I invest in Time Hackers Lifetime Access group coaching? So the first thing I want to be very clear about is your one-to-one coaching sessions. And I was asked this on Instagram. Your one-to-one coaching sessions are not a sales pitch. You will not be speaking about the program. You'll be speaking about whatever it is that you want to get coached on, whatever feels most supportive to you in that moment. Or you can ask your coaches to refer to the written Time Hackers one-to-one coaching program with the information and the specific questions and the specific coaching that I've written for them. That's the first thing. The second thing to think about is, sorry, what was I saying? So the sessions themselves are completely, the Time Hackers one-to-one program is an open close cover in itself. There is no need for anything else. If you feel like you just want support on getting through the last 6 weeks of the year, ending the year strong, spacious, successful, so you can be present over the holidays, so you can accomplish what it is you set out to at the start of the year, so that you can feel ahead as you go into 2024, then that is perfect. Now, we do have about 25-30% of people that do go from the one-to-one coaching program to either another round of the one-to-one coaching program or into Time Hackers. Now, that's completely optional. Again, that's not mentioned at all on any of your sessions because we value your time, and it is our mission to make your time investment in those 20-minute sessions the most valuable 20 minutes of your week. That's how our coaches know how to think. That's how I'm always thinking. And that's how we want to start to get you thinking. Because when you start to think about how 20 minutes can be the most valuable time of your week, you stop associating from the need to do long things, from the idea that more time spent doing something is better, which actually so often leaves us not doing things because we don't have enough time. So what becomes possible for you when you disassociate the narrative that more time is the answer to solving for, getting through all of your emails or getting through the to-do list or getting to the gym, whatever it might be, is what you'll realize is you're far more available for the things that truly matter to you, for the goals that you have set, for the success that you want to make inevitable, and for the spaciousness that is required for you to enjoy life, be present, and experience all that you want in the relationships that you have. Now, I was having a conversation with someone just last week, and they were telling me how they were on the borderline of literally handing in their notice at work because they had so much to do. It was completely unsustainable. They were eating into their time with their kids in the morning to get things done, and they were available in the evenings because they work for a multinational company that has them dealing with, people in all different time zones, and everybody wants a quick response, and everybody wants the answer yesterday, and they felt like they had to deliver on all of those things. Now, when we unpacked what was actually happening, it would be very easy to say, yes, you do have a really demanding job. You do work in international time zones. You do have a team that's dependent on you answering. But I also want to be very honest with, there's things that we can control and things that we can't control. And what you're not going to do in the Time Hackers one-to-one coaching program is try to change things that you cannot control. I always say this about time too, right? Time is fixed. Time is a known variable. We know how many hours are going to be in the day. We know how long we've got for a meeting, for example. And any energy that we put into trying to change the things that we cannot change, the things that are fixed, the things that are out of our control, is energy wasted, time wasted. It's why so many people are so exhausted. And instead, what we're going to focus on is what we can control. For example, what came up with this person was actually that when they'd started their work, they'd started out in a super intense work environment where, and this is true, where they regularly slept at their desk. They had a sleeping bag, at the bottom of their desk. And it was quite normal where they worked to do multiple overnights in the office. Now, that training, when we start work, everything that all the habits, all the norms that you have around time typically come from school and from your first job. So I want you to even pause and think, what are the norms? What are the rules? What are the narratives that you have around time that you've inherited by people that you would never choose to put as responsible for your time? Now, it might be a boss that wanted you to be available 24/7. It might be a work culture that promoted sleeping bags at the desk, whatever it might be. It might be a work culture that promoted, coming into the office and chatting for 2 to 3 hours before getting any work done. It's not always about hyper productivity. Sometimes it can be about hyper inefficiency as well. And then I want you to think about intentionally. What do you intentionally want your day, your week, your month to look like? What do you intentionally want your hours to look like? Now, not every hour is going to be the same. Just like not every day, week, or month is going to be the same. But what we want to invite is that intention. What we want to teach you how to do in the Time Hackers one-to-one coaching program is set intention and follow through on it. Now, part of that means what's going to happen is we're going to set intention and then we're not going to follow through on it, which is what so many of us are doing anyway. Now, when that happens and we are left to our own brains and our own devices, what so often happens is self-criticism, shame, blame, lower confidence, questioning and doubting ourselves, wondering if it's just us, telling ourselves things like we're not good enough, we're not committed enough, we're not motivated enough, we're not smart enough. All of that is completely useless at best and really detrimental to your future success at worst, because we're building habits and narratives that are going to cost you. Now, instead, when you're in the Time Hackers one-to-one coaching program, what you're going to bring to your coach is the intention that you set and the reality that materialized. And then together you will critically analyze, evaluate, and learn so that you can implement based off of that learning to create easier success the next time. And that's the value of coming and meeting with someone every week, or I will be honest, some people book multiple sessions in a week. Some people book a session every 2 weeks. You do have 3 months in which to use the program. But really, there is something powerful about not just relying on your brain to critically evaluate when our brains have a negativity bias, when we've been taught and socialized to take on kind of all the blame and all the shame and differentiate ourselves based on, not nice things and compare ourselves to this idealized version of us that exists or an idealized version of someone else that exists. So what we want to get you doing is setting intentions, failing, I'll be honest, learning from those fails, and then producing strategies that actually support you going forward, not just in those 6 weeks, but throughout all of 2024. So that's what's possible when you join the Time Hackers one-to-one coaching program. That's what's possible when you discuss with someone regularly. That's what's possible when you have an outside voice, an outside expert that can look critically from like a loving, supportive, sees the best in you space. And that's what's possible when you join the Time Hackers one-to-one coaching program. This program was really built to make it easy for you to get that personal one-to-one support that so many of us crave. And again, you might have heard the podcast episodes that came out this week, where we invited people on to speak about their one-to-one coaching experience. And some of the points that were made, I think, are very valid. Don't get me wrong, I love the Time Hackers coaching community. I think the fact that it's in a community is what's so valuable. I think the fact that we get to see each other and coach each other and experience how the tools apply to each other is incredibly valuable. And I also understand that sometimes we want privacy. Sometimes there are things that we want coaching on that we don't want to be viewed by everyone else. And sometimes we want that dedicated space just for our brain, just to be seen, just to be held, just to be heard. I also, on the podcast, we also spoke about being an introvert and the safety that comes from being held in a private space while being an introvert. So I really want to encourage you to really step back and think, what's the support that feels the most supportive for me? That's what support is for. Support is for you. We want you to get the support that takes you from where you are now to where you want to be without a long time, without hard work, without hustle and grind, without all the discomfort, without loneliness, without feeling, like it's just you, without that self-criticism, without that self-doubt, without any of these things that are simply not necessary. When it comes to the things that we can't control, they're there. But when it comes to the things that we can control, the skills that we can learn, the tools that we can apply to support us, that's exactly what time hacking is all about. So I do want to invite anyone to pop any questions in the Q&A or to raise your hand if you want to come on and get coached. I did have some questions come up on Instagram, so I'm going to refer to them because I did promise to answer them on here, because I didn't answer them all on Instagram. Let me just see where these are. And again, if in the meantime you have a question that you want answered, then I really do encourage you to pop it in and get answered. Again, you can do it anonymously, or you can do it with your name, or you can raise your hand and come on, and I can help you make the decision. Coaching around decisions, time hacking, a central part of time hacking is making decisions. So I really want every one of you to leave today with a decision made that feels good. So however I can support you in making that decision, I'm here. If that is answering questions, if that is coming on and getting coached, whatever it might be, please don't be shy to get the support. We're here for you. I'm here for you. You're here for you. Let's make most out of this time. Okay, so I know I'm not, one of the questions I got was, I know I'm not using my time as well as I could be, but I never really have, so why change? Such a good question. That's such a good question, because it's one that so many of us experience. The brain is averse to change, right? It's why we can say, oh, I'm going to start running on Monday, and then Monday comes and we're like, actually, there's loads of good reasons why I wouldn't start running today, and maybe I'll start on Wednesday, or maybe I shouldn't even be running. Maybe I should be swimming. Like, I just want you to pause and think how many times your brain has offered you set an intention to do something, and when it's come to crunch time, your brain has offered you lots of reasons to not do it, even when they seem really justified. We're not even going to go there and de-justify them, if that's a word. We're just going to sit with how often. Or can you even think of one example where you've set the intention to do something, and at the moment when you intended to do it, you've not? I mean, we all have thousands of those. And so that's one of the obstacles that we're facing. So why would I change? Part of your brain will not want to change. That primitive part of your brain that's wired for survival sees change as dangerous, even if we intentionally really want that change. That's going to be there when it comes to changing your jobs, or changing your relationships, or changing your location, or changing whatever it is. So what I encourage each of you to think about is, how have you created change in the past? Can you think of a time where you intentionally wanted change, and when it came to it, your brain objected, as it always will, what happened? Like, what was different? Why did you commit to that change? Now, typically what you'll find is something quite predictable. Like, you believe that the change was going to be beneficial. You believed in yourself and your ability to create the results that you wanted from that change. So I really want you to think about, why wouldn't you change if you knew that you would create the results that you wanted? If it was guaranteed, like if you were going into a supermarket and on the shelf was spacious success, on the shelf was presence with your family, on the shelf was getting things done and having successful weeks, on the shelf was getting through your to-do list, on the shelf was getting really organized, on the shelf was not feeling guilty about how you spend your time, whether you're working or not working, would you buy it from the shelf? Typically, most of us would say yes. So it's really not just the fear of change, it's the fear of failing to create that change. But whatever we make decisions from is what we amplify. So if I make decisions from fear of not being successful, then I'm going to not make decisions that support that success. I'm going to make decisions that continue to fuel that fear, so it gets louder and louder and louder. So why change? Because also, let's also remember that you have one precious life, and our life is made up of time. That's all we get. That's the real currency of life. Why would you not change? Another fun thing to think about is like connecting to your 90-year-old self. Does your 90-year-old self, what's their view on whether you should create change or not, and how you are using your time? The reason why I love to do this is because it takes us out of our current fear brain. And there's something that creates safety for us to attach to the future. And also our 90-year-old self, I think of my 90-year-old self as like so knowledgeable, so worldly. She made so many mistakes. She learned so much. She's so less attached to my current situation. She's so less attached to whatever anyone's opinions of me in my current, and she's just wise. So I would even pause and think, does your 90-year-old self have an opinion on whether you should get the support of one-to-one coaching with a time hacker coach? And if the answer is yes, then for sure, you want to jump in and do it. I also like to check in, by the way, with like my 10-year-old self or my 5-year-old self. What might they say? Now, the reason why this is so powerful is because the younger version of ourselves really care way less what other people think about us. And it's so often, you know, how we've been socialized, how we've evolved to really care what other people think. But at what point are we caring what other people think above what we think? Now, my 5/10-year-old self really cares about what she thinks, and it's such a powerful tool. So if anyone even wants to write in the comments how that applies to you, did that clear up anything for you? And you'll see what I'm trying to do in this session is really supporting you in making a decision that feels amazing for you. Now, for some of you, that might be, yeah, like my 90-year-old self is saying, I want support. My 10-year-old self is saying, just do it already. And for some of you, it might be, actually, my 90-year-old self is saying no. And that's okay too. When do I have to decide by? So doors are closing on the 17th, but I will be very honest with you. For those of you that love the last minute decision, we've had it before where people have said, oh, I'll wait till the last minute. And then life happened, life got in the way. If you are here and you are busy, then just be mindful that you might miss the deadline. And if you miss the deadline, then you'll miss the opportunity. So often we actually know the decision that we want already. I mean, my guess for each of you showing up here is you already know the decision, you already want support. That's why you've invested this 1 hour with me, because you know this is important to you. So I really encourage you to not wait on the deadline, even though it is there for you, and to jump in. We answered that I don't know whether to join this or the main Time Hackers program. I did touch on that. And the one thing I will add is if you join the Time Hackers one-to-one coaching program, you then get a coupon for half the investment of the program that you can use towards the Time Hackers main program. So if you feel like you want to step in and experience the time hacking magic, then the one-to-one program is a great entry point to do that. And then you will be given the opportunity to credit half of your investment into the Time Hackers Lifetime Access Coaching Program. I'm waiting until I finish my current coaching package with another coach. Yeah, I mean, again, so often, part of the narrative that we hear is, if you're working with one coach, don't work with another. If you are in a coach enrollment, then stay all committed to that one. And I just want to, I actually don't know if I've shared this with you guys. I think shared it at the podcast at one point. But at one point, I was working with a marriage coach, a business coach. What was the other coaching I was doing? I was doing like 3 or 4, marketing coach. What was I doing? There was 4 different types, and life coaching. And I was doing it all at the same time. And a lot of my peers even would say to me like, oh, wow, like that's a lot of coaching. But to me, these are all the different parts of my life that I care about. And why would I ever put something that I care about on hold? Like our time, the way I think about it is always our time is non-refundable. Instead of what we've been taught to do, which is put these pillars of our lives as competing with each other, right? The family, the social, the business, the work, the home, whatever it is, we're taught that all of these are competing for our attention, instead of thinking like, how does me getting support in my time facilitate this other coaching program, right? How does me getting support in my time facilitate my relationships that I also value? How does me getting support around my time facilitate my goals in my career or in my business? So I just invite you to consider that despite what you may have been told, that you have to do one thing at a time and very methodological, if that's the right word, what's the value of doing it all together? What's the advantage? What is the gain? Like, how might the gain be bigger because you are doing another coaching program? Now, the other thing that I will add to this that I heard from a few people, not on Instagram, that I've definitely heard in the past, is I'm already not using all my sessions that I've already booked or paid for, or I'm already not finishing the program that I've already booked and paid for. And if this is for you, I just want to again invite you to consider how investing in the skill of time hacking and getting coached from a time hacker coach might support you in completing those programs or deciding to not complete those programs. Because I will also tell you that when I was pregnant, I was put on bed rest. I was in the middle of a marketing program and I didn't complete that program, and I never did. But I took what I needed from that program and I learned so much. And I think just remembering that if you're not completing something, it doesn't mean that there's anything wrong with you. It might be that that is no longer the thing that you need support on. And if that's no longer the thing that you need support on, it doesn't matter how many sessions you've got left. It's actually going to be a waste of time to continue to show up for something if you know that you don't need that support anymore, and instead invite you to get the support that you need. Now, I'm going to be very honest with you. The way I see it is every single one of us needs support around time, ongoing support around our time, because we just don't have the skill or the know-how. Like, you are probably here watching this because you already know that you could be using your time better. So why would you keep that support from yourself? I actually have too much time. Will this help me? Yes. So I will admit, most people come to us because they want to better use the time that they have, because they feel like they're too busy, they've got too much going on, they don't know how to prioritize, they're feeling constantly stressed and overwhelmed, and like time is a scarce and finite resource that they cannot sustain what they want to do and achieve what they want to do in that time. But we also have plenty of people come that feel like they have too much time and they don't know what to do with it, because the same fundamental error applies, which is no one has ever taught you how to best use your time. No one has ever taught you how to optimize your time. No one has taught you how to make decisions around your time that are your decisions, not someone else's decisions, not your boss's decisions, not your partner's decisions, not your kids' decisions, that your decisions on your time and how you want to use it. So absolutely, this program is also for you if you feel like you have too much time and you don't know what you want to do with it. Will this help me time block and get organized? So you can use these sessions for whatever you want. I will say that time blocking is not something I outwardly teach. And the reason I don't do it is because I've just seen so many people come to me wanting the perfect plan, wanting to follow the perfect plan, and then failing to account for life happening, for the need for flexibility, and so often punishing themselves because they tell themselves they cannot follow a simple plan. Now, what we do and what you'll learn and how you'll get coached by your time hacker coaches is away from writing long to-do lists and color coding plans and putting things in the calendar. But I do want to remind you that these programs, these sessions are one-on-one. They are private. They are for you to get supported however feels supportive for you. And we are not going to tell you what you can and can't do. So if you want support on time blocking, it might not be a tool that I teach, but absolutely you can get support on time blocking as long as it's in a way that feels genuinely productive and helpful and useful for you. And get organized. Absolutely, it can help you get organized. The way that we speak about getting organized in this room is not actually, doesn't follow on from time blocking, and is really more of a self-concept. And a lot of what you'll learn in this room is your relationship to yourself, how you view yourself, how you can intentionally view yourself in a way that supports you and speeds up you achieving what you want to. So I would say absolutely we help you get organized. I already work with a business coach. How will this be different? So I just want to be very clear, because I've had this question a few times. I already work with a business coach or a marketing coach or whatever it might be. How will this help me? Business coaches are not experts in time. And I know this firsthand because I've worked alongside or with or have friends that are sometimes leading business coaches that do not use their time well. Because again, they have never intentionally been taught how to use their time well. And it's very easy when you have a business that's growing and that's succeeding to give more and more and more and chase more and more and more without being intentional around how best to optimize your time. And that's something that I've seen countless times. So whatever coaching you have, if it's not supporting you around time, then I would think about how would you learning and knowing how to use your time better and spend your weeks better be supportive of the work that you are doing with a business coach. Again, instead of seeing them as competing. I've never been coached before. Will it help me? So I touched on this at the beginning, but really this program will help you because it's built by design to help you and meet you exactly where you are. Whether you have never been coached before, you're still not really sure what coaching is, you just know that you need support, this program is for you. Or whether and we have people from all different experiences come. So we also have coaches that are running multiple six-figure businesses that are experts in their coaching arena, and business coaches that come and just know that they right now could be using their time better. And if that's you, I also encourage you to do it. There is no hierarchy in any of our rooms. There is no, especially in this, it's so malleable to you personally. It's private one-to-one coaching using the tools. It meets you exactly where you are and takes you exactly to where you want to go. Like really, I want you to think about getting to say yes to high quality coaching with some of the best coaches that have been through some of the most rigorous training and certification. And I'm so confident in them that I'm willing to put them with my clients who I care about the most. Like really, to get this quality of coaching is honestly unheard of. So I even remember for me when I first came to coaching, meeting coaches and being like, how do you differentiate between like the quality of coaching? Well, we've done it for you. We've done it for you. We've trained coaches in time hacking and also in the skill of coaching to make sure that they really are excellent coaches. And I can tell you that they really are excellent coaches. We invite every one of our one-to-one clients to submit feedback, and we have never had anything but purely positive feedback. We invite people to request different coaches. We've never had anyone do that. Now, in saying that, if at any point you feel like you want to do that, we welcome it and we cannot wait to hear from you with honest feedback. But really, I just have to say the quality of the coaching from our coaches is exquisite. And I think it's such a gift that you get to come, know that you want coaching on something, and the coaches have already been vetted. The coaches have already been taught the skill of time hacking and the skill of being an excellent coach, where they went through an intense program, they then went through a certification process, and they then went through a hiring process. Like, we've done all the work to ensure the highest quality of coaches are available for you. And I'm proud to put these coaches in front of you. Like it's such a gift when I think about when I was first looking for my own coach. How do you know for sure the quality of coaching? Well, we've done that for you. See if there's anything else. I already answered that. Okay. That's it from the questions that we got in advance. I can see something in the Q&A. How does the Time Hackers philosophy or methodology support someone who's making a significant life change? For example, I need to make a big shift in X area of my life and I want to make progress faster. Love it. 6 months versus 12 months. What might be the Time Hackers slant to that? I absolutely love this question. Thank you for asking. So the basic Time Hackers philosophy on how to achieve things faster comes down to the 3 biggest indicators that we have that implement change. So it's not time, it's not knowledge, it's not research, it's not checking with other people. The 3 things that will directly impact your change and create, like you said, at least a 12-month to 6-month change, and I would even be saying 6 months to 3 months, and even 3 months to 6 weeks change falls into one of these 3 buckets. And these are the 3 areas of expertise of our coaches. The first is essentially hacking your brain and the narrative that your brain feeds you. For example, if your brain is saying things like, I can't do this, this is going to be hard, this is going to take a long time, who am I to do this? This, like, I don't have the skill, this is going to be, I'm repeating the same things, but you understand what I'm saying. When our brain is talking to us, and particularly talking about us, about the goal that we want to achieve, and about the task that we're going to do in order to achieve those goals, it can either say things that are supportive, like, you can do this, you've done hard things before, I believe in you, I know you have the skill, I know you have the knowledge, now is the perfect time for you, you've impressed me over and over again, and all that is going to accelerate you. And then there's the brain that says, I don't know if we can do this, this is going to be hard, maybe we should wait, maybe we should ask someone else's opinion, who am I to do this, I don't have the experience, I should read another book or check with someone else, or whatever it might be, outsourcing that credit, that responsibility. So you can see there, when it comes to hacking your brain, how one person is going to be accelerated forward and another person is going to be slowed down. Now, if you are in the slow down group, then, and even if you flitter between the 2, that still is going to slow you down. So what we want to be very mindful of, and what I would ask you, is what would be different if your brain was on board with a significant life change that you want to make? Not just on board with the change and the desire to make it, but on board with your ability to create it. It would be faster, right? The second, what's the word, like, not tunnel, the second pillar, there we go, that I would consider is, the second pillar of time hacking is all around decision making and how to make decisions fast, because the brain, like we spoke about earlier, doesn't love change. And so one of its strategies is to stop us making decisions, for example, around that significant life change. For example, I need to make a big shift in X area of my life. Well, what is that big shift? What does it look like? What are all the details? As long as those decisions aren't made, guess what gets to happen? It's like your brain is happy and you don't need to change a thing. So the second part is all around hacking decisions so you can make fast decisions. Now, I'm going to be honest, some of those decisions aren't going to be the right decision. But the way I think of it is like a racetrack, and you're at the start of the racetrack and you have to decide to go. And once you decide to go, you might see a bump in the road and think, actually, maybe I should have gone around the side. I fell over. I'm going to get back on my bike and continue on. And somewhere else, you might see a fork in the road and you might go right and there might be a dead end. And then you have to come back and keep going from the other path. So we have to be willing to make decisions, sustainable decisions, in support of the change that we want to make, even if those decisions aren't always right and perfect up front, because we get smarter once we are in the decision than we can ever possibly do when we are at that start line. So we have to get in the race. So a big part of time hacking is hacking the decisions that you are making. Now, the third key area is all about hacking fear and failure and our relationship to them. For example, any significant life change is going to bring about with it some fear. Again, just how our brains are wired, just how we've been conditioned and socialized. Nothing's gone wrong when we experience fear. But part of our brain doesn't know that. And it sees fear as literally a stop sign. It does not want to do things afraid. It does not want to do things where there is fear. Now, what we want to support you with through time hacking is partnering with fear so that you can move forward with fear, so that you don't have to argue with fear, you don't have to eliminate fear, you don't have to appease fear. Really, you can move with fear, because fear so often in our current day is not actually deadly like our brain thinks. So what would be different if you weren't stopped by fear? If when you were afraid, you saw it as a sign to lean in, and you had the skills and the know-how to lean in instead of leaning out, you would move faster, right? Same with failure. Failure is a part of success, and everyone gets that in theory, and in reality is not willing to fail. That's not because we are wrong in any way. In fact, it's by design. But when you work with a time hacker coach, you will be reworking your relationship to failure so that you are celebrating failure, because failure is data. When you fail, you learn things, and those things make you smarter, and that smartness allows you to implement things that you didn't know. So we just want to be hacking your brain, hacking your decisions, and hacking your fear and failure. So the time hacker slant to that is, seriously, when you have your brain on board, when you are making fast, sustainable decisions, when you are partnering with fear and failure, you will move faster. And that's why I know for sure, if you think something is going to take you 12 months, with the right support, it can be done in 2 or 3. We just have to remember that it's not the to-do lists, it's not the calendaring. Those things do not support us in achieving more faster. Those things typically keep us busier with more things to do. Time hacking is literally built off the premise of, what is it that it actually takes to support you to make this significant life change, and how can we make it easy, fun, and fast? So I hope that answers your question. And anyone else with any questions, please do let me know. We have about 10 minutes left. I'm hoping that I've got to all the questions. And just so you know, we will have, we do have an email coming out with a lot of the Q&As from the last round that we got as well. So I'm not going to talk about them on this live call. I do want to thank you all for your time and for showing up for yourselves, because this is a big deal. You've said yes to showing up in support of making a decision that is going to support you further. You said yes to investing your time today in watching this replay or coming live and getting the support and getting coached. Like, I just want everyone to consider, you want support, that's why you're here. What would be different if you were just willing to give yourself support? Like, let's just pause for a minute and think about what's on the other side of the decision, right? So right now we can be on the unmade decision. Should I, shouldn't I, maybe, maybe not, will I, won't I, when, whatever, all of that narrative. So when we're in a decision unmade, this is the point of decision made. When we're in a decision unmade, we're swirling around in all of this narrative. The moment we make the decision, all of that headspace, all of that energy, all of that narrative dissipates. We no longer have to question if we should or shouldn't, when we will or won't, how we will or won't, or any of that. And we start to instead create space for, oh, now I'm supported. Now my brain just gets to think about the shift that I want to make, the change that I want to make, the future that I want to live into, the goals that I want to achieve, the life that I want to live, how I want to be spending my time. That means your brain has eliminated all this unproductive headspace, all this unproductive narrative, all this unproductive, tired and wasteful discussion and debate, and you can start implementing your brain, your number one time tool, your most powerful resource, on implementing the change that you want to create the life that you want. So I just appreciate all of you for showing up, for watching, for listening. And if there aren't any more questions, I will go. I will just leave you with this in summary, in case any of you don't have your decision made, which I'm sure you do. In fact, I even want to just ask you guys now, what is your decision if you had to make your decision right now? Like, if one-to-one coaching was closing in 10 minutes and it was now or never, what's your decision? Now, whatever that decision is, why not act on it? Why not go with it? Because I promise you, whatever you think it might be, that stops you from saying yes to getting the support that you want, and that's why you're here and you're watching, is probably going to be what stops you from creating the change. I saw this when I used to do sales calls all the time, and I would ask people, like, what is it that's going to stop you from getting the support that you crave? They would say, well, for example, like, I'm not sure that I'm actually going to show up. Okay, so are you showing up right now? No. So do you want to keep not showing up, or do you want to learn how to start showing up? Because that's what coaching will provide you with. If, for example, it's like indecision and uncertainty and just wanting to make the right decision and wanting to know everything can be tied in a pretty little bow, where else is that showing up in your life, and what's it creating for you? How much is it slowing you down? How much is it costing you? How much has it already cost you, and how much will it cost you if it continues? And what would be different if you had the skill of making fast decisions and implementing on them? So those are just two examples. There are so many. Maybe it's like wanting other people to sign on, wanting everyone else to agree, wanting, permission from partners, from pets, from colleagues, from whoever. Where else are you seeking permission? A big example I can think of here is in the workplace, where you want like other people to keep checking your work and checking your work. And what's that creating? How is that slowing you down? And what would be different if you are willing to validate yourself? That's what we're talking about here. Now, I think one of the big mistakes that I see in this program is people dismissing it as not powerful because it's 6 sessions, because it's 20 minutes, because it's, £200 a month for 3 months, or £600, which in the general narrative of coaching is on the way more affordable side. And I just want you to know that it is with serious intention that we created such an accessible program. Do not let those numbers talk you out of getting the highly potent support that is waiting for you when you say yes to this program. Do not let your brain talk you out of getting support because it minimizes what's possible in 20 minutes. Instead, I invite you to show your brain exactly what's possible in 20 minutes. I'm a time hacker and I'm overriding my brain, offering that this isn't me to ask a question here, but actually someone else might benefit. Yes, thank you. So here it goes. I love this. Thank you so much. Gremlin thought, other side of my decision is about money. The current past puts limits on what feels like the right thing for my self-care. So then I stop myself and reinforce that identity and belief that I'm not worthy and capable. Okay, thank you so much for sharing that. Side of my decision. The current and past me puts limits on what feels like the right thing for myself. Limits on my self-care, right? Like I can have self-care up to a point, but after that point, I'm done. I'm maxed out. It's too much. It's very common. So then I stop myself and reinforce the identity and belief that I'm not worthy, capable. Yes. So when we are making decisions from a place of I'm not worthy, I'm not capable, there's limits on the support that I deserve, we keep ourselves limited. We keep our support limited. We keep the narrative that we're not worthy and capable. And I just want to tell you that you absolutely are so worthy and so capable. And your brain is just wanting to do its thing and keep you small. And I just want to invite you to think about what would be different if you were like, what's the most amount of support that I can give myself? What's the most amount of support that I can give myself? And what would it look like to really allow myself to experience that? And you're right, actually, we have a lot of time hackers that also sit on the lines of, well, I've already got this community, I've already got this support, I've already got the weekly coaching. And for me, I just want to tell you all, like, instead of limiting ourselves, leaning into what's the most support I can give myself to make this happen? Because on the other side, right, so you've got your past and your current self, and then you've got your future self. What's she saying? What are they saying? What do they want you to know right now? Because our past and our current self feels very loud and very important and very known. But our past and our current self has led us to where we are. It's our future self that knows how to get to her, to them. So I really want to encourage all of you to lean into giving yourself the support. Every single one of you on this call wants the support. That's why you're here. That's why you're still here. You've been here for the full hour because you know what you want. What do you need to overcome to give it to yourself? And what do you need to let go of? So if you need to let go of the that your brain has decided for you, if you need to let go of the idea that you're not worthy and capable, why might you want to let go of that? Why might it be the best thing you get to let go of the narrative that you're not worthy and capable, of the narrative that there's a limit to the support that you deserve? There's a limit to the right amount of self-care. What if there is no limit to self-care? Because there's no limit to yourself. Because probably when we start, this is the thing, we treat other things the way we treat ourselves. So if we are limiting our self-care, then for sure I know that you are limiting yourself and your potential and how capable I know you are, for sure. Thank you so much for commenting and asking the question. And if there's anything else you want to ask as we continue on that topic, for anyone that's asked a question or anyone that wants to ask a question that hasn't asked a question yet, we do have a few more minutes. I do want to give you guys the floor. Don't let yourself get off this call with a question still in your mind. You've shown up, we've shown up, I've shown up. Let's get you the support that you want. And also, if you've decided on this call that you are going to jump in and get coached and get support, do it right now. Do it now. It's not going to get easier with time. The opposite, right? The more time passes, the more our fear brain, the more our doubt brain, the more our primitive brain is going to get louder and speak up and bully us into not creating the change and not getting the support that we know we want. So I really want to encourage you to, if you've decided that you want the support and you are committed to the last 6 weeks of 2023 being your best 6 weeks, get the support right now. Jump on it right now. You deserve it. You are worthy. You are powerful beyond what your brain wants you to realize. Let us show you how. All right. That is it from me. Thank you all for showing up. Thank you for giving your time to giving yourself the space to think about this. I really encourage you to leave this call with a decision either way. It's either a yes or it's a no. Don't let your brain hold on to an unmade decision that is on this side, right? That unmade decision that's not productive, that's not supportive. I'd much rather you decided no and put your brain into how am I going to achieve what I want, than you held on to maybe until Friday, missed the deadline, and wasted the next few days. So it's either a yes, jump on right now, get the link. I wonder if I can add the link here. I don't know how. Let me just see. Or own that it's a no. And either way, either way, I do want you all to know you are so capable. More than your brain will ever want you to realize. So I'm going to send the link. I don't know how to do this actually. Type answer. I'm just going to type answer on the 2 questions answered. I don't know if you guys can see them actually. I'm sorry, I don't know how to do that. How to send something. But you will get an email with the link. Jump on it straight away. Thank you so much for your time. I appreciate every single one of you that showed up, every single one of you that's watching the replay. And I will see you guys soon. Bye, everyone.